Growing up, I went camping with my grandpa quite a bit. And he always had these old Coleman lanterns laying around. And when I was a kid, I didn't really care about them. A few years ago, I picked up a Coleman 2-burner stove at an antique store that needed repair for $20. I took it home, tore it apart, cleaned it all up, painted some things I probably shouldn't have painted, but I got it working. And after that, I just kind of started keeping my eye out for them. And slowly, over the past few years, I've built up a small collection of old Coleman gear. But this lantern was special to me. My grandpa passed away in 2022, and about a year ago, I was cleaning his shop, and this old lantern from 1949 was up in the loft. And as you can see, it's pretty dirty. I've never seen this lantern in my life. I don't remember it ever being on any camping trips that I've been on. Hell, I'd even gambled that the last time it was lit was 20 years before I was born. I've cleaned up a few of these old Coleman lanterns before, so as soon as I saw this, I knew that I had to restore it. The pump at the time seemed to be working. There was still some old fuel in the tank from only God knows how long it's been in there. To my surprise, the fluid that came out was actually pretty clear. The seal was just obviously trash. It was hard as a rock. The cleaning lever would only rotate about 330 degrees. It wouldn't go all the way up. When I pulled the pump, looked at the leather cup on it, I actually thought it looked pretty well for being 75 years old. In these holes, which at the time I thought were just structure frame holes, I didn't realize they were vent holes. They were full of mud dauber nests. So I did my best to try to get all that out. If you'll notice, I use a leather glove because I don't have any scrap pieces of leather. But I put that glove between the pliers and any metal parts that I torque on. I do that because I was in a Facebook group, old Coleman Collector Facebook group a while ago, and I posted a video of me restoring a 200A from the late 60s. And I got so much feedback, so much crap is what I got from a lot of the older guys about the way I restored and cleaned up an old lantern. Some of the guys were really cool and giving me good tips, and that's one of them I took away. But I actually ended up, I think, getting banned from that Facebook group, and I don't really know why. I don't know if the admin saw the video and then couldn't stand the way I was restoring something when I'm just trying to clean it up, and hell, I don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of figure it out as I go. And so anyways, I know that group's still there. I looked at it from a friend's phone. that he's still on it, but it doesn't even show up when I go to look for it. So my only guess is I got booted, but that's fine. I found this stuff called Barkeeper's Friend a long time ago. I play the drums, and a friend told me about Barkeeper's Friend for cleaning cymbals because it's really good for cleaning brass and copper and a lot of different metals, and it'll get them real shiny. And so I've used that on my cymbals for a long time. This was actually the first time I've used it on any Coleman parts, but I was actually pretty happy with the way it turned out. So I submerged them and then just let them set for around an hour or two while I worked on other things. So this is me being an idiot. For some reason, I totally forgot that you're not supposed to get generators wet. And as you can see, that's me showing off to the camera that I am soaking a generator. So, more on that to come. This was also my first time using Lime Away as a cleaner. I did a lot of research on the nickel founts and how to try to get them clean, and a lot of the guys had talked about using Simple Green. I couldn't find Simple Green. I found this Lime Away stuff, and it got a lot of the grime and stuff off. I did do research to try to make sure that it wasn't going to eat the nickel away, because as you can see, the nickel had started to deteriorate a decent amount. Like I've got quite a few little freckles on there. I did end up using steel wool quite a bit, fine or coarse sometimes, depending on the part. For the collar, I used the fine steel wool, and it actually cleaned up pretty nice. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to keep everything as original as possible, but I did not want to put a new rubber pump with the prongs or a new globe or a new generator. I wanted everything to be legit, even if that meant I have to rebuild it. So remember I said I thought that pump cup looked pretty good. As soon as I touched it, it just fell completely apart. So this was my first of what turned out to be many times going back together with this lantern. And at this point, it had seemed to be like it wouldn't be that bad of a rebuild. You know, cleaning, simple little parts replacements, but nothing too bad. This was my first time replacing an old, small three-piece cap. I've replaced quite a few of the bigger ones, but on the old 242s, they have this small one that I had to order gaskets for and wait on those. So I ordered some of the number 2 fuel cap seals on eBay. They came within a few days, and they were actually really good quality. I will put a link in the description. These Coleman leather pump cups I also ordered on eBay, and I had never done a leather pump cup. I have replaced rubber ones. I've grown to really dislike the new rubber ones, and I wanted to keep this as original as possible. And it turned out that this was a lot harder to get that leather pump cup on there than I had thought it would be. So many guys have recommended Neat's foot oil, but I haven't ordered any of that yet. This 85 140 gear oil has kind of been my go-to for pumps for a few years now. It's what I started with because it's what I had laying around the shop, but it's honestly worked great. It's thick enough that it stays on and helps create a good seal, and I've never had it gum up on me yet. Even on pumps that I've oiled like 3 years ago, it still works great. So I let it soak in that oil for a good little bit and tried to stretch it on there. After much frustration and knowing that I had some spare parts if this one broke, I resorted to the pry bar technique. This seems to me to be the best way. I didn't watch a video on how to replace these or anything. I don't know if there's one out there. I just wanted to kind of try it for myself and just go for it.
There we go.
And it worked pretty well, actually. Something I did learn during this project, as you can see, is when I used the Coleman funnel on this lantern, fuel pours everywhere, and I still don't know why. So here we are, the first time I was pumping it up. I was really, really excited to see what was going to happen. I honestly thought this was going to be like the cinematic outro to this video where I light the lantern, everything works great, and I put the globe together and show the finished product. I thought a good cleaning and a few replacement parts, and I thought this thing would be up and running. I tried opening the valve all the way, giving it more pressure, turning the cleaning lever, and it was just flaming up so bad. I have an old 200A that I still need to rebuild, so I don't even know if it works, but I pulled the generator out of it and put that generator in this 242 to see if I could isolate the problem. And this time I was sure to heat up every single piece of that really well with the torch. But through all of my efforts, it still failed. At this point in my head, I'm going through everything. I'm wondering, okay, did I miss something? Is something clogged? That old funky fuel was in there for a long time, so I would assume that maybe some parts got clogged. So I pulled the generator and checked pressure at the valve, and it seemed to be doing fine. So I pulled the generator apart, something I hadn't done to this point. After realizing my mistake of letting the generator soak for over an hour, I let it sit out for over a day and just dry, thinking maybe it will be okay. At this point, I had never rebuilt a generator, so I really didn't know what that entailed. But I thought if it could just dry out enough, then I probably will be okay. This was my first time ever pulling a generator apart completely, so I really didn't know if what I was looking at was bad or not. So while I was waiting on the generator packing to come in the mail, I figured, okay, let me strip it down and check the valve again.
everything?
Basically. I mean,
Crazy.
I know.
I got a lot.
Looks kind of cool though.
Yeah.
But this valve, so right now, I mean, I gotta wait on the packing for that. Look, I polished this all up, and now it's all freaking black again. So I'm gonna have to clean that back up. One thing I noticed after putting the lantern together all the way the first time was that the valve was extremely difficult to turn. And I wanted this thing to be really nice and just easy and fun to use. So I tried working some oil into it to see if that would just help clear some gunk out. I ended up just committing and pulling apart the whole thing, which I had never done. I did use some really fine steel wool just to try to polish the shaft to make it slick, and tried to clean out any old gunk that had been left in that nut as well. Oh yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Before this, I had done a tank rinse with gasoline, and I got a little bit of gunk out, but I figured I should clean it out more while still waiting on that packing. And as you can see, the tank rinse was quite needed. I rinsed it 5 or 6 more times after that too. I had read on a forum about citric acid neutralizing rust, and I remembered all the rust on the bottom of my Fount. So I bought some citric acid, mixed it, and decided to give it a try. It honestly didn't do as well as I thought it was going to do. I would let it sit for 20 minutes at a time, which was longer than what was even recommended, but I just was not seeing any activity. On all these other videos I would watch, it would show the rust kind of dissolving away. And although it was working, it just wasn't working like I thought it would. So I ended up having to do this like 5 or 6 times. Each time it would help a lot more though. I don't know if you can see this. There's that little 8 right there. So finally, the generator packings came in. And what was really, really cool is I bought these from old Coleman parts, and they sent me a patch. And on that patch had an old 242, exactly like the one I'm rebuilding. The packing is general to several generators, so they had no way of knowing that I was even rebuilding an old 242. It was just a really, really cool little touch to the whole project. So it lit. It looked like it was doing better, but no, still not. No. Like, that should be way brighter than that.
Yeah, it's very dim.
So I reached out to Frank at Old Town Coleman. I've watched a lot of his videos before, and he responded to me within 24 hours, actually. He recommended that I check for an air leak on my fount. So I pressurized my fount and submerged it in water, and I found no bubbles. He also recommended that I check my valve to make sure that I'm getting sufficient fuel and pressure. He told me that if the valve was open all the way, that it should be dumping a lot of fuel out of the valve. So I did that. It looked fine. At this point, not finding any problems, I began to search through everything. And that is when I ran into this. If you remember earlier, I thought these were frame tubes. I did not realize they were vent tubes.
That's crazy.
I thought that I had gotten all of the dirt dauber nests out, but both holes were still clogged. At this point, I was pretty confident that it was going to work. So I decided to clean it up a little bit and put it all back together. I had real hope this time. I thought, that has to be it. But I still took every precaution. Burning the mantle in, heating up the generator, heating up the tubes in the top burner. And then as soon as that mantle lit, it was burning great. You know, it's really cool rebuilding this lantern. I don't remember this lantern when I was growing up. I mean, I went camping with my grandpa a lot, but I don't ever remember seeing this lantern. He had a bunch of other newer ones, probably 90 models and stuff like that, but did some bartering with my grandma and asked her if I could have it, and she's like, of course. But here I am, grandpa's lantern on my grandpa's property, and I'm gonna christen the moment with my grandpa's pipe.
Well, hello there. Man, been a long time. How you doing? Well, I guess I'm a doing fine. Well, it's been so long. It seemed like yesterday. Ain't it funny? How time slips word you told him. You'll live until the end of time. Well, that's the same thing you told me.